Hey friends, it's me, Avatar Klash, and today we are going to do a tournament report over this deck you see on screen. That's right, I used the Charizard Dust Noir deck in order to get second place at my second local tournament ever. First things first, origin story time before going to the deck list. I was talking to my friend who invited me to the first one, and we were just talking about the new Charizard Battle EX deck that's gonna come out later in the year, and I was just like, oh, I wish we could have it now so I could have a second ace spec. And then my friend was like, it's it's okay to like have one ace spec, like you could just switch over from deck to deck. And I got to thinking, wait a minute, I could switch over a few things. So what happened? I don't really have enough Arvins to make two decks, so I switched over some Arvins to create this deck along with like the Super Rod, Counter Catcher, Buddy Buddy Poffin, things like that. So I followed my friend's advice and came up with this. I wanted to challenge myself as well. So that's why I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna build this deck last minute and go to the tournament with it. I do not expect to win. I don't expect to win one game. I mean, I'm not kidding. It was literally the first thing, like, the tournament was literally gonna be the first time I ever piloted something like this. So I was just like, let's do it. And then, bada bing, bada boom, I got second place. Alright, with that origin story out of the way, here's my deck list. My real life deck list is not as blinged, I wish. But the deck list includes the one and the only Charizard Ex. Basically, what Charizard Ex does is that it has the Burning Darkness attack. Basically, it has a base damage of 180. However, if you're like if the opponent gets a prize from you, it gets stronger over time. So let's just say if you were on even like prizes, so like two prizes left for the opponent, you would do a total of 300 damage if I'm doing that right. Then it would be 330 if the opponent had one prize left. So how do we balance off the like trade? Like, oh, it's just two prizes, like two prizes every time. Well, there is a key. There is the Radiant Charizard, for example. You could always just put that up as a one prizer. And also, we have Dust Noir, or the Dusclops line in general. Basically, you do Cursed Blast, and you could knock, like, you could put damage counters on whatever. For example, if it was like Iron Thorns, and you needed to like help get that extra help, you could just hit one of them and then 210 it, or you could do hit one of them, get the healthy one up. If they do bet your second Iron Thorns, then you could just Defiance Band. Like if it's full HP, you could just Defiance Band, and then boom, you hit the thing for 240. So that's what the Dust Noir line is for. And then we have Pidgeot for quick search, of course. I mean, it's so much fun getting the card that you need, or the card that you anticipate, like, you think you need at the moment, essentially. Because I know during my tournament, I think I misplayed a lot. Well, maybe I'm just being hard on myself, but I was like looking through my deck because I didn't want to slow play. Like, I didn't want to be that newbie that was like too slow for the people that go to regionals and all that. So I tried my best to keep up with the pace of play. So I may have not done so well with quick searching, but hey, everyone is different. Then we have Pheasantipity. We have Pheasantipity for Flip the Script, and we have the Rotom for instant charge, Luminion in case we need a supporter. It is kind of a lifesaver, but at the same time, if it's in the front and you it's your first basic, like you don't have a Charmander or things like that, nope, not like a good start. So Luminion is like a double-edged sword for me. And I know a lot of people play Manaphy in this deck, but for me, I don't play Manaphy. Like Dragapult, like Regidrago, or things like, yeah, Regidrago, I don't really like it. Really felt like there was no point for me, so I was like, I'm just gonna cut out Manaphy and just like Charmander, and get like the basics in play. Like, I'd rather have the extra room for Luminion, at least for me, if I need it. I would rather have like extra room for Luminion or another Cancel and Cologne. Speaking of Cancel and Cologne, that's what I substituted the Manaphy for. But that's not what I did. But it was like, yeah, I'll just take out Manaphy, see what happens. Like, hopefully there's no Greninja sniping, but if there is, we'll find a way to go around it. So, yeah, there's that. Supporter wise, we have Arvin, of course, for the rare candy, or like the Force Seal Stone, the Defiance Band. We could get the Counter Catcher, Super Rod, basically any item card from this list. And also, like, we have Iono in case to do hand disruption. I even included Judge because I was just like, if I Iono to like 2 and I don't have a Pidgeot, then no. So that's why I did Judge instead. Sure, there's like a, oh, the opponent has 2 extra cards they could work with, but I'd rather take that risk. So we have boss's orders, 2 of them, and then we have the counter catcher to help us out a bit. And then we have Turo. So with Turo, you could either take away the Luminion, the Rotom once you fully use Rotom to your full advantage, or Radiant Charizard because you don't want to like Infernal Rain to Radiant Charizard. Like, you're gonna put all your energy on that Radiant Charizard, so it's like, no. So that's why Turo's there. And also, we have other things, like we have the Buddy Buddy Poffin to get our basics down, like our low HP basics. We have Ultra Ball to gain the Charizard, the Pidgeot. Recommendation, if you use the rare candy, get the Pidgeot first, if you can. Then you could get the Ultra Ball for also the Dusclops and Dusknoir. Well, really any Pokemon, but the priority should be Pidgeot or Charizard, depending on your circumstance. Then Nest Ball, you could get that for the Rotom, the Fezandipity, for Luminion, for people that don't really know how to use, like for the newer players. Don't Nest Ball Luminion, or else the Luminous sign would not work. Then, we got the Super Rod to recover some stuff. I mean, trust me, you'll need it, especially uh, with the low energy cost, and along with the fact that maybe some of your very important basics, like Charmander, will probably be prized. So it's like, make sure you have an extra Super Rod, or at least that helped me during my games. Because let's be real, 2 of my Charmanders were prized per game. That was not fun. Then we have the Cancel Cologne for the Mimikyu, the Iron Thorns, things like that. So that's why Cancel Cologne is there. Our Ace Spec is Unfair Stamp. It's just so much fun. So when you get knocked out, you could, if you get the Pidgeot, you could like, uh, do whatever you need to do first. But save Pidgeot, like in case you have like the Arbits of Border, things like that. Save Pidgeot, and then you unfair stamp, and then you still have the quick search ability. So that's why it's like, get Pidgeot and make sure, at least in my opinion, you could play it a different way. Make sure if you don't have Arvin in your hand, I mean not Arvin, if you don't have unfair stamp in your hand, and and you don't want to quick search first, just Arvin, if you have it, just Arvin, or maybe Ultra Ball just to check. But Arvin, what I did was Arvin for the unfair stamp, then unfair stamp the opponent, then get my 5 cards, they get 2, and then we get the it could be like a counter catcher, this, that with quick search. So that's also a plan you could do. Anyways, the for seal stone is for like you attach to a Rotom V or Lumineon V, and then you use it, flip the V star marker to get whatever card you want. Then we have Defiance Band for Charizard. For like for example, if like you just use Dusclops and then damage the Raging Bolt a bit, you could attach and then boom. Then um also the Collapse Stadium to get rid of whether it's Rotama Luminion or maybe Fez. Then we have Jamming Tower for the Gardevoir matchups, or even like decks that use Bravery Charm. So there's that too. Anyway, sorry for the long deck summary. I know that was a lot, but I just wanted to lay down a quick foundation before getting into what I faced and the results of each match. Okay, the first matchup was against the Lugia player, and I was scared because A, there are Chichitos, and B, he's one of the top players in our local, so I'm like, that's a double no for me. So I was just like, I'm just gonna have fun and roll with it and hope I get a Charizard. As long as it's close, I'm happy. And it ended up being close. Sure, it was bad on both of our ends because we kind of like we did not have such good hands. Like we iotoed for essentially 3 turns straight. It was pretty hilarious, but he mainly won because he had the Chinchitos set up. He eventually had an Archeops. I could have won if he did not mention a second Lugia, but I mean, hey, it's still fun to just, you know, it's still fun to just like try to challenge yourself, even to a bad matchup and to a player that is like the one of the top players in your local. So I was like, I'm proud of myself. It was a close game. One prize left, so I'm happy. All right, second match is with Miraidon, so I was like, oh, thank goodness, I could potentially win. Like it's relatively an easy matchup. I just have to get 2 Charizards. 2 Charizards. Pidgeot, I could live without, but yeah, all I need are 2 Charizards and then I'm happy. And turns out, the electric generators did not work for my opponent. And sure, I was a little bit scared at first because like Miraidon could use tandem unit, get Raikou, and knock me out. Or like if he got super lucky with the electric generators because he had like a mega hand, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should have played Iron Thorns. No, please don't amp me, like stuff like that. But my opponent mainly focused on Miraidon, and it did not. I'll be honest, it did not help that A, I went second, and B, I had Pheasantipity in the front, so I was terrified. So there's that. Anyways, the point is that my opponent got to attack first, only with Miraidon. Like everything left had no energies. It was just like maybe one electric generator worked for one energy to the Miraidon. So he had no energy on either the Raikou on his bench or the Iron Hand. So it was just like it was not gonna work out for him after I knocked out the Miraidon. But my terrified like moment was, is he gonna knock out my Charmander or is he gonna knock out my Pidgey? Either way, I was terrified because I did not want to bench Dust Noir, like because it takes away a prize and I didn't want that potential amp threat. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for Charmander and Pidgey and hope for the best. And then so he just knocked out my Pheasantipity, and then I ended up getting my combo, my Charizard Pidgeot combo, and then Infernal Rain. Maybe got another. I got another Charmander, and I used for Seal Stone for like I think I for Seal Stone for a rare candy to evolve another Charmander, but yeah, I did that, and either way, I had the win at that point. So I just knocked out the Miraidon, took my 2 prizes. He Greninja'd, like he Greninja'd, and then it did not work out for him. Like, uh, there was no electric generator, nothing. So he just passed, and then I was like, he just passed, and then I basically bossed up Iron Hands because I didn't want to get Ant. Sure, he could have electric generated to Raikou, but I'm like, I'm less scared of them having a boss in Raikou than Iron Hands. So I'm like, bossed up Iron Hands, and then that after that he conceded. That was game two. Alright, so my third matchup was against Reggie Drago. So the good thing about this match was I did not start with Pheasantipity again. I started off with a Charmander. So what happened was is that I basically got a good start. I set up relatively well. Sure, I was a little like apprehensive about benching Dusclops because of the fact that he could like dragon laser me. I've seen like Reggie Drago decks do that, so I'm like, I know it's slim, but I'm going to like bench another Charmander just in case instead of the Duskull. So I did get like a Pidgey, Charmander, and Rotom setup, just instant charge. Then it's the opponent's turn. Didn't really do much. Mainly just attach for energy and Celestial Lord. I think all he did was just attach and maybe put an Ogerpon down in Teal Dance. But other than that, he didn't really do much. So that was his turn. That I evolved into Charizard, this, that, and the other. I got everything I needed. I even got the Pidgeot, quick search for something, and hit the Regidrago for 180. Then it was his turn. He evolved into Regidrago, got like a V-Star. Like he used Legacy V-Star, got his Prime Catcher, and I think he got an S-Ball to get another Ogerpon, and I was just a little bit terrified because Ogerpon is really bad with Charizard. So I was wondering what he was gonna do. So all he did essentially was attach energy to Ogerpon with Teal Dance. Then he Prime Catchered my Pidgeot, uh, put up the Ogerpon, and then just lost impacted my Pidgeot. So I have no search for a game, but on the bright side, he has no energy resources, so I was happy with that. Like, I was definitely okay with that. So all I could really do was get a counter catcher, get the Ogerpon with an energy attached to it because I didn't want to like get KO'd. Like I could handle getting lost impacted, and I know that their ace spec is not max belt now, so I'm like, it's not gonna one hit KO my Charizard, especially since I don't know, like I know decks could replace their Raging Bolt with Giratina, so there's that. I was more like, I'll be okay with this, like this is fine. So I was just like, I'm going to hit that for uh, I'm gonna hit the Ogerpon, and then that's my two prizes. He puts up an Ogerpon, the Ogerpon without energy. All he really does is Teal Dance. Well, all he does is really Teal Dance, set up a Mew, then he restarts, and then it's basically my turn again. So I draw. I don't really see anything else to do, so all I did really was take away the Ogerpon. Then after that, he had like a big turn. He had a big turn because he got the Pheasantipity on top of Mew, so he could easily just, like, Iono me. Like, there was a chance of being Iono'd. And I'm, like, sitting there, wondering what he's gonna do, so he flips the script, gets, nothing, so he researches his hand away, then I knew I had game. I had the boss in hand, so I was just like, I could boss anything on the bench. And then I was scared for a little bit because he had Goodra in the discard pile. Like, he energy vessel the Goodra away, and I was just like, oh gosh, it's gonna rolling iron me. But I was just like afraid that the rolling iron would also affect the bench. So I asked him, does the rolling iron only affect the active Regidrago? And he said yes. So I just bossed up Mew, and then that was game. Alright, so last match of the night was Guardy. It's basically 2-1 at this point, and I was gonna do everything in my power to get more wins than losses. So, I mean, I know on the surface it's a really good matchup for me because Guardy is weak to dark, and Charizard is like, can KO almost anything, but it's more scary because of the tools that could be used for like Scream Tail, things like that. So I was more like I need to get my jamming tower if I have a chance of like accelerating the game, you know? So basically, I did not do so hot at first. I mean, he wasn't doing so hot either, but I was literally, I think I had the worst start because at least my opponent could get the Greninja in play. Versus me, I started off with Lumineon. I could barely get two Charmanders in play and a Pidgey, and like the instant charge was lucky for me. I think I instant charged twice in a row. Like it was that bad. So it was not so hot for me at first. And then I guess what happened was he eventually got the Guardy. Like it started getting smoother for him at first, but he got the Guardy, set up Screamtail, and knocked out one of my Charmanders because in another turn I got the Charmeleon, the Paldean Fates Charmeleon down because I was just like, Charizard, I did not get the rare candy, dang it. So after that, all I did was evolve into Charizard, then rare candied, well, retrieve Romanion, of course, then put up Charizard, then rare candied for Pidgeot, and du- and then I got Dusclops. Yeah, breaking for Pidgeot. Then I did Dusclops. It was kind of cool. Like, sure, the Pidgeot was expensive. I canceled Cologne, but hey, what can I do? So I got Dusclops. Cursed Blast the Screamtail. So that's one prize for me, another prize for them. I mean, sure, it's probably ineffective, but I ended up bossing up their Gardevoir, their only Gardevoir in play. Then uh knocked that out. So I took a 3 prize turn, and he was not doing so hot after that because that was his only Gardevoir, like the closest thing, because I don't think he played Ultra Ball, things like that. So he basically gets a Mimikyu and prays that I don't have it like that, and so the next turn afterwards, I rare candied into Dust Noir, knocked out the Mimikyu. He puts something else up, then I get 2 prizes in that turn, and then he tries his best to get some things in the hand. He Ionos me, which is totally fine because either way, I have the Pidgeot on the bench. I could literally just get Jamming Tower or knock anything out at this point, and I'd win. So I wasn't too concerned, but he realized he couldn't get anything and just conceded. So that gave me a 3-1 record. And then after that, it turns out we were the last two people to finish. They asked for the results, and he said that I won, and then they inputted the results, and it turns out I got second place, which is totally surprising because this deck was extremely, extremely last minute, and these are really good players. They go to regionals and all that. So I'm really happy about this result. Well, that's all I got for you today. I was going to show you a quick little match, but at the same time, you're tired of me yapping. Anyways, thank you so much for your time. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.